is The Woody Show.
Fresh from South Korea and now on The Woody Show. He was just talking about how happy he was to be back in the States.
I get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, gold medalist, snowboarder, Olympic champion, Shaun White.
Wow.
You know? Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Dude, so first and foremost, congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I was watching with my son. My son, has never really. Whoa,
He
there's
brought the medal.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to touch it?
Yeah, go
There's
for
the
it.
medal.
Go for it. Yeah.
Whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow.
So how much of that is real gold?
I'm not sure the percentage, but it's weighty. It's heavy.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Yeah, they looked awesome on TV.
It's enough gold for me. I'll take it.
That's really heavy.
Yeah,
That's like a brick.
Yeah.
that's crazy.
That is
Yeah.
so cool.
That's
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
you've won these before though. So
Mhm.
is it? Well, obviously it's just as cool because I was watching when you nailed that run.
Yeah.
And like all the emotion and everything else that was on your face, like you could tell like how much it meant to you. But like in some way, shape, or form, it's like, oh well, just another gold medal.
I know, right? Yeah.
Whatever.
Is it one of those things?
Sometimes competitions feel that way. You're like, you know what? I'm pretty positive I'm going to win, and it's all going my way, and that'll happen. But sometimes this will go down where you need to pull out all the stops on that last run to win it. And,
Yeah. Well, that was the situation.
Yeah, and so for me,
Had to be real clean.
every other Olympics I've won with my first run. And that's why I was so excited during this competition. I was like, through my helmet, I'm like, I think I just won. I went huge. I was like,
That's
I think I
awesome.
got it.
You would look real stupid if you didn't, though.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure. It's
the scores come in, you're like, damn it.
Yeah, it's like up in the 90s. I was like, okay, cool. It's out of 100. And so I'm sitting there going, this is great. The weather's rolling in. It's starting to snow a little. And I'm thinking, okay, this might just hold. And then boom, this Japanese rider, Yumu, puts down this amazing run. And I'm thinking, okay, they're going to make me work for it, and I had to dig deep. And I fell on the second run, and I'm thinking, okay, it all boils down to this. And so the emotional part after was because I'd been injured doing this trick, a cab 1440, a double flip 1440, and I had to do this same trick that put me in the hospital in order to win the Olympics.
Oh,
And
geez.
so, my whole family's at the bottom. They all know how painful this injury was. I had about 62 stitches in my face, and I still have some stitches in my tongue. Like it was a brutal.
Still?
Yeah, they're claiming they're dissolvable, but they're still. I'm
Still
really waiting
waiting.
to dissolve.
Those are really good stitches.
Like,
So-
what else happened with that injury? Like, so you had all these stitches. What else?
I had what's called pulmonary lung contusion. So my lungs
jeez.
were so badly bruised that they were bleeding, and so I couldn't fly home because
Right.
the pressure in the airplane, the elevation. So I had to sit in the hospital with this tube in my mouth to like cough up all the blood that was in
Oh,
my
my
lungs.
God.
And so it was just
Jeez.
this really rough go, and that's where the family's calling me and they're like, look, like you've won medals, you're a success in the sport. No one can
Right.
deny that. You're thankfully you're well off from doing this sport, and why do you need this?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I set out to do this, and I honestly had to ask myself that same question. So
Like, talk about an extra mind F, though. 'cause
Yes.
if it's going to be the
Right.
same trick that
oh, for sure. And so
cripped you like that in the first place.
So to dig deep and to get to that point and then to finally like overcome the injury, do the trick again for the first time, and then to put it in that run to win. I mean, that's where all the emotions were coming from. And
Yeah.
and they knew how badly I wanted this after not performing so well in Sochi at the previous Olympics. So
There's obviously a lot of physical stuff when it comes to what you do, but is there a mental zone that you get into not realize when you're at the top and about to start your run? Wow, the whole world is watching this. Like, how do you not think about that?
Or
you do.
I do,
Or you
honestly,
do,
in a
but
way.
you
like,
have to.
In a way, it sounds strange, but it helped me get it done.
Really?
If you put me at the pipe with like a casual day and it's
No one
cloudy
will-
and
yeah.
it's cold, it was very cold over there, and asked me to do a trick that put me in the hospital before, no way. I'd be in
Right.
the lodge,
Yeah.
and honestly, and I could admit that, we put on this persona of being this like extreme characters, but like I'm very casual in my normal life, and I don't like to like threaten my well-being every single
course.
day to feel
Yeah.
alive. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
tomorrow. So, I use that pressure of like, man, the world's watching. It's now or never. You got to do this run. And that's
Wow.
that. And so some part of that, it takes the seed of doubt out of your mind, and you're like, I'm going to do this.
Olympic
then,
gold
like,
medalist
they-
Shaun
yeah.
White is here. Sorry.
No, good.
I just want to remind you, if you're just tuning in, we're talking to a champion right now.
That's right.
I know.
Yeah, somebody who's way cooler than all of us collectively.
Has more gold than Fort
Well,
Knox.
it's crazy because you said you had that, that lung contusion and everything else.
Yeah.
I was just reading an article yesterday about there's this kid over in the St. Louis area who you were born with a heart defect?
Yeah. It's called tetralogy Fallot.
Yeah. So this kid has like the same condition, but he's like way into sports and everything else. So it was a really cool article that said, Waterloo athlete shares heart condition with Shaun White.
Oh,
And
awesome.
so it's, like that's because I read about people that have these heart conditions that they're born with or some other kind of physical. But the heart thing is, man, I don't want to mess with that. Like,
of course,
because that's gotta be on your mind too, right? So like when I'm saying as more of a kid, like
yeah,
you're going to the doctor and you're getting this thing treated. Like how do you even get past that to get to the level that you're at?
Well, honestly, it was my family. They never put these limitations on me. Like I was told I was going to be very inactive child, sluggish heart. I wasn't going to be able to do a lot of sports, things like that. And then, my parents never really like held me back from doing things and let me find my own limits. And so I think over the years, I just trained my heart and I was able to, slowly build into doing sports and these things. And now look, I'm like a full on athlete. I'm out mountain biking every day, surfing, skating, all these things. But it just, it was something I downplayed at the first Olympics that I went to because I didn't want that to be the headlining story, the like cardiac kid, barely lived and now he's doing this. I wanted to be about my athletics. And then at the second Olympics, it became a bigger story. I thought, this is something to be told now. And I'm so glad that I did because you get stories like this, other kids seeing what I'm doing and not, and maybe digging deeper to find their own limitations and pushing what they're told they can't do. So it was really, really great that came out.
Now, is this like a lifelong condition or is this something that's able to be fixed with surgery or just can you grow out of it or?
I think every case is different, but for me, thankfully, I was like one out of, 10,000 or so that won't have to go in for a second operation. I just passed this point where they stopped using a procedure where they put in a valve.
Oh, geez.
And the valve needs to be replaced.
Oh, yeah.
So can you imagine? I mean,
all the time,
in my 30s now, like, oh, cool, I got to go back in and
do this again.
Replace the valve, and it was a very, at the time they saw through the sternum, they open you up, they break the rib. It's like a very involved surgery.
Intense.
So I'm thankful to be what I'm, doing what I'm doing. Every day.
I mean, you've killed it, man. I mean, Olympic champion.
Thank you.
Right? Successful businessman now. The Aaron Style event.
Do you know what it's like to be lazy, or does that just not interest you?
Ever since I was a kid, I was traveling and doing things and moving, and I just always like picked up things around me that I loved and really pursued it, with the same sort of vigor as competition. So like when, Aaron Style opportunity presented itself, this is a huge sports and music festival that started in Austria probably 20 something years ago. And I became involved in it and I became a host of the event. And then eventually I bought the event and started launching it here in the United States. And this will be our 4th year doing it. But, it truly combines all the passions in my life that I'm excited about: music, sports, really the culture behind the sport. So I don't know, it's great. But yeah, the downtime's tough. I just sit there kind of like, okay, what next?
The clock.
Man, I feel like so weak. I mean, here's this guy overcomes like a a heart condition, gold medal. Like I can barely hold this gold medal. It's so heavy.
That's so much heft to it.
Yeah, my neck would collapse under the weight.
I know.
That's nice of you to bring the medal. I imagine most people wouldn't even let you near the medal.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's fun to like say hi to people and then boom, you pull out the medal and like you get this amazing reaction. It's such a only a couple times in life you get to do that.
Right, exactly.
Totally.
The flight home was the best.
People think it's cool, like if you have like a puppy or like a kid. If you're like a dude, that's like the easiest way to get girls to talk to you. Yeah. I mean, if you had a gold medal, that's pretty awesome.
Wear it out at night to the bar. You just put on your medal.
Yeah.
Were you just passing it around the plane?
No, well, I get on the plane and then everyone started to applaud. And and I'm kind of waving and it's all great, and then I pull the medal out and they started rushing from the back of the plane to the middle section to take photos. And it was just the most amazing scene because airplanes is a touchy causing a scene and
running.
Yeah, and you can't check that, right? I mean, you don't put that in your luggage.
No, you definitely like either at that point I was just kind of wearing it, so I pull it out and took a bunch of photos with people. It was super exciting. They announced me over the intercom. You know, we got one of our Olympic gold medalists on the flight. It was just such a cool experience. You know, and people don't really get to see it too often or hold it. It's heavy.
Right.
It's
And
Almost
these are
never.
great looking medals.
Yeah.
It's
You know,
cool.
like when I first saw them at the games, I thought, oh, they did a nice job with the medals
Yeah,
this
they
year.
did a good job.
Let me ask you a question. Like, who is it just voluntary? Who like has to hang around for the closing ceremonies, and who doesn't?
Yeah,
Or is it
it's-
like now that you
That's a
are
good question.
like a proven winner, champion, or whatever, they go like, he can
You
go.
can go.
It's a pass.
People, this is your first Olympics. You stay.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean it's all up to
Because
you.
you came back way before the closing ceremonies.
I came home and then I just watched it on TV last night.
Yeah.
But honestly, I had missed it the first time in 2006. It was in Italy, and so I was like, oh, I'm gonna do all this media because it's like a rare opportunity at that point. You finally achieve this goal in your life, and you go and do the talk shows and whatnot. And I remember after the Vancouver Olympics, it was like this big rush to get out and do some media, and Oprah had called and asked me to come on the show, and some flying to Chicago, and this amazing kind of whirlwind that happens after.
Yeah.
You don't sleep for a couple days.
Oh,
You're just
sure.
you're in the mix
You're
and
amped
doing
up.
interviews with the world. Literally, hi, you're live in Finland. You're like, oh,
Yeah, Shaun here.
that's great.
I saw some.
I
I saw some clip over the weekend that somebody, the fans that were posting, like it had to be one of your first Olympics where you're like, yeah, man, we partying. You're on the flight, and the flight
I was
attendants
on the
gave you
flight.
drinks. And they're like, well, you're only 19, Shaun. He's like, Mountain Dew, baby.
I was.
so
I
funny.
really was
You still
talking
had the
about
big
Mountain
hair.
Dews, which was the best. Yeah, I had the huge hair, and she's just like,
Mountain Dew, baby.
yeah. I just posted that on my Instagram. I was like, people are gonna dig
So
this.
fun.
that was a lot of fun. No, I just didn't know if there was like a rule, like if it's your first Olympics, you got to hang around. Like, because how do they not have everybody just? I mean, I guess somebody wants to be a part of that, but
No, I mean, think about a lot of the people that are there. It's their first time, so they're like opening ceremony. This is
Definitely.
crazy. Wow, we wear
Yeah.
these outfits for this, for media. It's such a new experience that they want to stay, and they end up watching other sporting events, things like that. And so I was asked to come back for the Vancouver closing ceremony, and I walked in that one. But this one was it was cold. And I was like, I'm
Wanna
home.
go home.
yeah, it was super
Thanks,
cold.
but
They kept talking about the conditions being crazy because it was so cold. Like, the snow was just different.
wind.
Now, was it icier, when you were doing your tricks and everything? Was it more frozen than normal? Because that's what they were saying about the luge track. That the luge track was definitely icier than
it was frigid.
they're used to.
And then for some reason, like they had, I don't know, it must have been like a K-pop star. Some woman shows up and she starts singing "Let It Snow" or the Frozen song.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And it started snowing. I'm like, somebody cut her off. Like, it's too much, And but the conditions were actually great, honestly, because it was cold. But that means that the half pipe's firm and it's fast. So think about it. It snows. So if it's sunny and hot and like somebody falls
Slushy.
right where you take off, they're gonna put a big like divot in
Yeah.
in the half pipe wall. So I was pleased with. It's more intimidating because it is icy, but it's a pure half pipe that won't change, which is great.
We were talking about this when the games were just getting started. I'm curious to get an athlete's perspective, and please give us an honest answer. Don't give us like the toe in the line answer on this one. As an athlete, are you doing this more for your personal goals and achievement, or is this really for my country? Because hear out the argument. first.
Yeah.
The argument was like you train for so long from the time like you're a kid. And you're working so hard, and it's like I think that's more of a personal achievement. Whereas the people who are watching the Olympics, myself or Ravi or Greg or whatever, like you're rooting for your country, like
course.
someone like Shaun White who's representing our country.
Yeah.
Are you really doing it for country, or is this more about personal achievement?
It's funny because at my first Olympics, like I was there I thought it was cool that I won. Like I didn't think that deep into it until I came home with the medal. And I realized what it meant to other people. And then I was proud at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
That's
then
a good way of looking at it.
yeah, because I had, these guys come up like, you did it. You did it for us. That's amazing. Thank you.
And you're like, sure.
Like these very heartfelt, amazing things. And I was kind of like, oh, yeah, I had the long hair. I was like, oh, cool. Hey, rock on. Yeah, okay. But it wasn't until I went back and I was like, this is incredible. You're an Olympian. And then I understood what I was doing and how I was representing and those things. And so, it wasn't till later on that I was proud of that aspect of it. And so now when I made the team, I was in Aspen. I qualified, officially made the team. And I was like, man, I get to be an Olympian again. It's a Rocky thing. It's like, it's not about, he doesn't even win in the first one. It's about making it to that point. Yeah. And that's an achievement on its own. Everybody gets a ring. Yeah. You're a part of history. And any other Olympian that you talk to will understand what you're saying.
Oh, everybody gets a ring that you're wearing?
Yeah, they get a ring. Yeah.
I thought you took one of your 800 medals and melted it and made that.
Yeah. Wow. Forged it in the fires of Mordor for one ring.
He's an athlete, he's a businessman, he's a musician, he's a jeweler.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But when you win, they'll put Olympic gold medalist. So this one says gold medalist on it.
Wow. Yeah, that's rad.
But it's an amazing thing to be a part of that. So I think it happens for me later, and now I'm very proud to be, representing the country out there.
Yeah, my question, like, how do you even? Because I'm watching you guys do these runs, and it, you make it look so effortless. It's like, okay, well, you just gain some speed, you go into the half pipe, right? You go up the wall, you get some air, and like while you're up there, you twist and you turn, you do some stuff, and then you land. So like that would scare the crap out of me. Like when we went up to the top.
Oh my God.
For the Air and Style event, they have this giant 16-story snow ramp, and Menace and Ravi and Greg and I, we went to the top of it just to get the view from the top.
So scary.
And to watch some of the athletes like do their runs from the perspective of the top of the ramp.
Yeah.
And just being up there, Greg was like scared to go even near the railing.
I couldn't even, I was shaking. I don't know how you do that.
So before you know how to do it, like that first time when, like how do you even figure out that you could do this stuff is my question. Time.
Yeah, I had a trampoline as a kid. My parents were like out one day and it was Christmas and like, hey, we're getting a trampoline, and the rules were like no flips. Right. And then my dad did a backflip. I'm like, oh, well, he did it. Like, that rule's done. And so I remember being very like confident and comfortable being in the air and being upside down, and it really like developed my timing so I could flip and know where I was. That's cool. And by the time snowboarding came into my life, I was already comfortable doing that. But honestly, it's just like years and years and years of like working up to this, and so it's amazing to watch.
But did you have like snow pants full of mud like the first time you were gonna do it? Like almost crapped your pants like at the top of the run, and okay, we're gonna try this first time out. Here we go.
Thankfully, I was like 6 years old. So I was like, totally. Throw me off the, like asking my brother to throw me off the balcony onto the couch. I think I can make it.
Zero fear.
That's right.
Yeah.
Zero fear.
Honestly, it's the biggest challenge for myself now is like, I think so much more. I'm so much more aware of the danger in these things, and it's hard. It's hard to motivate.
After you bust yourself a few times, like you said, there's hardcore injuries.
Man, the combination I did at the Olympics, I'd never done that in competition before. I just knew I could do it once the Olympics was, the pressure was on.
Yeah.
I waited. I was like, you know what? Why even mess with it? I'm unmotivated to do it right now. But when the heat of the moment hits me, I'm going to do this run, and I know it. And so that's the motivation. So usually competitions are where I push myself, because training is tough. It's like, it's icy, it's windy, it's cold. You didn't sleep well, you're jet lagged, all these things. And so, that's the biggest thing. But when I was a kid, I was like, I was that horrible redheaded kid, like terrorizing the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of energy, and once I found snowboarding, that like really fed that need to like.
Because as a guy from Southern California, like how do you even figure out snowboarding? Like skateboarding's one thing, right?
Yeah. Skateboarding.
But Menace, like he grew up skateboarding.
I skateboarded,
but he says he cannot snowboard to save his life.
Snowboard at all because I'm freaked out about my feet being locked in. I'm used to being on a skateboard where I can move my feet wherever I want.
Jump off and run out of it.
And then I strap myself into a snowboard, and then I get up there, and then I just start freaking out because I can't move my feet to balance.
Oh.
So you said...
See, I think of the opposite, because when I go, I'm like, oh, cool, like I don't have to worry about my board flying away. For me, it's like, oh, it's like one less thing I got to think about.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
I always look at snowboarding as more of like this. Skateboarding is more technical sport because the skateboards are smaller, you're not attached, those kind of things. But snowboarding's bigger in scale. So when you hit a 90-foot jump, like there's no running out. You're going. You're committed. You're like, all right, I'm gonna do a triple flip, 14. Like, there's no stopping that. You're going. So you have to make this big decision before you go. That's where the trick happens. It's not in the air. It's like, all right, I'm doing this. And and you have to make that decision. But honestly, I think it was just years of like learning to carve and make turns on a skateboard, and it's like your shoulder leads the way, and then finally through surfing, stuff like that, it just kind of clicked. But
I'd say it worked out.
Yeah.
I
You've done it right.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, I know you got to go here in a moment, but one last question I had for you. Like when you go over to like South Korea, what the hell do you guys eat over there? Like,
oh my goodness.
I was always wondering like what the food game was all about.
Course.
A lot of McDonald's, I read.
Really?
I don't know about Shaun, but a lot of the skaters ate McDonald's almost daily.
It's just, I mean, when you're overseas, it's like anything you recognize from home. Like after a couple days, you're like, okay, yeah, a burger sounds incredible.
Yeah.
But
then
honestly,
where do you go and get that? Like, are they serving that like at the Olympic Village?
I think they're Olympic sponsor.
Do you stay in the Olympic Village?
I didn't stay in the Village this time. I stayed there the first time I went. It was an hour away from the venue, and I was thinking like, I'd rather sleep in one more hour before getting up to get to practice in the morning, and then another hour I get to like rest before I have to go all the way back. So that was kind of the calculation. Plus the food, we knew there was this amazing like Korean like steak barbecue restaurant nearby the hotel. We went there every day. Straight up, it was so good.
But
your clothes might smell like the barbecue.
That's all right.
That's okay.
But
that's all right.
It was so good, and we would go there all the time. And I have this kind of ritual where I'll have like a big steak the night before.
You weren't eating like insects and stuff like that.
So the last day we're there, we pop down to Seoul, and like we get taken out by some friends and some tour guides, and so they take us to this bar where it's like a casual bar. And then all of a sudden you look around, there's like live raccoons everywhere.
What?
Seriously, like
raccoons?
Yeah, just trash pandas like everywhere.
Oh God.
I heard that somewhere. It was funny.
Wow.
But raccoons in this bar, and then
My dream.
and then they take us to this restaurant, and now all of a sudden like all the plates are moving, like there's like tentacles and things, and I'm just like, okay.
See, that's what I was picturing when like in South Korea. I'm like, oh God, I wouldn't be able to perform because I wouldn't be able to eat. I'd be starving.
But it's like a disrespectful thing to not try it at least, and clean your plate or drink the soju or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, I put this thing in my mouth. And literally, like, it's still alive enough that the suctions were stuck to my tongue. Like, I couldn't swallow it because it was holding my tongue.
Good Lord.
So I ordered seconds.
Oh man. Well, you don't want to be disrespectful, Greg.
Hey,
Right. Especially to the octopus.
You got to do it.
Greg can't stand looking at those things. Eating one. Well, Shaun White, Olympic champion.
Yes.
Yep.
It's so great to have you here. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for letting us hold the medal. That was
course.
incredible.
Yeah, that's
Congratulations to you,
Thank
and
you so
good
much.
luck with Aaron Style. And thanks for always being such a cool guy.
Awesome.
And what an exciting time. Shaun White, everybody.
All right.
Right on, guys. See you. Thank you.
Yeah.